Right. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Guten Tag. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Okay, we're getting this. Don't get smart. Right. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Silver. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about performance in general and fursuiting. Now, it's not really a fixed format on this. We do tend to cover whatever you want. So we'll do a few basics and then we do whatever you want, open forum type thing. So, who's a suitor? Here. Well, that's a good proportion. Who wants to get a suit and doesn't currently have one? Okay, a few, that's good. Who's its first time ever suiting at this event? No suited before. Okay, excellent, that's a good start. Now, we're going to do mostly about performance. We're not going to do much on the way of maintenance and how to fix suits and how to do things like that. So that's just something I need to make clear to you, which is only performance things. Now, the problem comes a lot of the time that people have a $3,000 suit, $300 suit, doesn't matter how much it costs. You put it on, you have to then be able to do something in it, otherwise you're just a very expensive wallflower. And it doesn't look interesting now. We have also an advantage. Who's going on the parade later on? A few. Oh, that's good, right. Because there's a real problem that people have sometimes, in that they walk around and somebody wants to take a picture and they stand and they go,
yeah.
well, come in, join us. What do I do now? You know, it's sort of like just stand there. We need a pose, something interesting. So let's do a few basic things here. One thing that's very important is when you enter into a room, it really portrays how you're going to do the rest of it. Come in, join me. I would have blocked the door open, but unfortunately I don't have a door stop. So, can I borrow someone, a volunteer? It's a very simple part to play. You're looking at me, congratulations. Step outside a moment. We'll be right back.
Things are getting nasty.
Everyone's just in like,
Well, hello! How are you doing? Look at this lovely yellow lanyardy thing. Yes, you've got yellow as well. Yeah. Yellow and green. Cheetah. I don't like that anymore. Badges. I'm going to take this now. Yeah, that's mine. Sorry, stolen. Actually, you can have that. You need to be you. Another one! Yeah. Come in, join in. Oh, it's always brilliant. Now, the main thing about that was, did you notice the two different ways that we came into the room there? Yep. One person, no enthusiasm, no interest, nothing whatsoever. It doesn't generate any interest. You come in flamboyantly, loud, look at me! You're really drawing attention to yourself and portraying how you want your character to be seen. Now, we have small characters, we have big characters, we have scary ones, we have non-scary ones. Everything is about how you enter into a room, the core of how you want to be portrayed. So we'll have some, has anyone seen Gil's suit? Clockwork suitor, really big demon type thing. Comes in, lets his voice do talking as well, gives a real impression of a demonic performance and wants to be treated in that way. We have 2D suitors who bounce around with people, throwing people, and they really enjoy it because it's a different type of characterization. So what you want to do is make sure you're living the character you want to be, really portray it and everything. You can do it in many ways. This one here is one of mine, Sergeant Growler. He will be out later on, but I haven't had a chance to get him out yet. However, just on his own, it's a German Shepherd. There's no difference to many other German Shepherds, 2D suit. However, I want him to be a police dog. So I got this. accessories. Nothing about this says police on it. It's all second-hand surplus stuff. However, when you look at it, what's the first thing you think?
Authority, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is the whole thing. It's the police. So we need to look at accessories. So has anyone actually got any accessories with their suit here at all? Come in. I apologise for the lack of seats. I kind of ran out a little while ago. But has anyone got any accessories with their suits that they use regularly? Speak up. Anything? You have one? Yes, what do you have? A bandana. What does that bandana say about your suit? Cute. Come in. Come in. So, you've got one thing. Is there anything else you want to do with the suit? Anything you'd like to change? Anything you want to... Ah, excellent. I like it when we get that. So, part of it's going to depend on what you actually have in the suit yourself, how it looks, how you constructed it in the first place, or who you commissioned to buy it. So, what sort of suits do we have here? Do we have any realistic suits from anybody at all? I know Zev's got one. You've got a realistic suit there. How do you find people react to it?
Can I get a photo?
Photo, yeah. How good a photo is always a thing that people want. And a bell. Now, one important thing about performance that people tend to do in suits, is a bit contentious for some people, is speaking. Not everyone will speak in suit, some will, some won't. I find it much more prevalent with American suiters than anybody else. I don't speak in suit because I find my voice is not at all like a big werewolf. And with the best of intentions, I can't put on the voice that I really want to. So therefore, I just don't speak. However, you can do a lot with your mind. Tell people a lot how you want to act, how you want to feel things, and how you want to respond. Because not everyone will be the same. So what we'll do now is we'll have a couple of suitors, conveniently ones in the front row. Come up here. Yes? You'll do that. And two of you as well, in the second row. Come up here, right. Excellent. Yeah. Still do that. And can I have for you as well? Good to meet you. I'm making translation services or something, but we'll do. Okay, now, we have a nice keyboard button, is that right? Keyboard button? Is that right? Is that right? Is that right? Oh, now, you can get interaction with people, whether a positive or negative interaction, depending on how they respond. So if they want to play along, they will do. If they sort of shy away and there's nothing wrong in not carrying on. You shouldn't try and force interaction when people don't want it, because there will be a couple that will be afraid of suits, even in conventions. We will have people that don't like suits. So make sure you're reacting in a balanced way and see how they respond. If they sort of go, who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Fine. But they will do. Now, what is the critical thing that everybody mentioned about photos? Everybody seems to want photos here. It's good. Now, if you want a photo, what are you going to say to someone? Could someone open the door? We have the sort of the camera press, the holding the camera to the face. This is another good one. Want a picture? Ask them. If you don't want a picture, remember you can say no as a suitor. If you're hot, give me a symbol for being hot. Excellent. Is there another one? You fan yourself? Anything else? Just fanning. Fanning's quite good. We've had time out before. It doesn't tend to get used a lot, but sort of there is a no. And security have just checked us, so we're okay. They're fine. Well, I do anyway. But you can actually sort of give it. If you don't want a picture, what would you do? You want a picture. What if you don't want a picture? No. No. How? What about you? You don't want a picture? You want a picture? You don't want a picture? No one. Anything different? Want a picture? No? Ah, right, so we've got the check there, that's easy. We can do that quite easily. But it is a thing. If you want to say no, remember you can. If you're too hot, just go. You will need to look after yourselves as well. I know I'm not going to go too much into it, but if you start to feel hot, you start to feel uncomfortable, you start to feel dizzy, do you all know where the Headless Lounge is? Around the corner? In there they have drinks and that disgusting green stuff. It's a syrup and water mix, and it's annoyingly addictive, even if you don't like it, still go. But stay hydrated because it will affect how you respond to it, it will affect your performance. So make sure you stay hydrated at all times. Now, we're going to have a little thing here. Suitors interacting with one another. Right. Now, two suitors meet each other. What are they going to do? Hi, that's a good start. A hug, that's always a good start. One tip, if anyone got a hat, you have a hat. Beware, your hat will be stolen. It is cute, but all times. However, some people are protective of their hats. Some can be quite expensive. If you are going to steal one, do it playfully. You know, be nice to them. Pretend that you're going to steal it first, and then if they play along, let them take it. You'll get it back. Most of the time. I've never lost a hat yet, so I'm all right. But the important thing is, remember how you're reacting with people. They will react back to you as well. If you don't want to interact with someone, say so. If you really have to, you can talk to them. I know a lot of people don't like to do it, but it is something you can if you do. So, now we've got some more things. The restricted vision can be something that will affect you. However, you can make it into part of the performance as well. If you're trying to sneak, have we got any weasels in here? Any ferrets? Any kind of sneaky creature?
No.
Fox. Fox, that'll do. Right, we'll try. Now, if you want to portray something, foxes, have you got any foxes up here at all? No? Oh. Scary wolf? Scary wolf. Husky. Husky. Okay, husky. The tail fooled me. But you think about what you want to do. How do you want to be as a character? If you're looking at being a cunning character, you want to sneak, you want to creep, look around, go over here, worry the person, then go back. Then go away, then go back, and then steal the box. But it's not yours. Yeah? It works anyway. But you can actually build things in, like you can do, if you're any rats. You got any rats here? Okay, that's not going too well. A rat?
Just part-time rat.
Part-time rat. I'll take it. If you want to be a rat, what do rats do? How does a rat behave?
Cautious.
Cautious. Sneak around. Light-footed. Scratching constantly. Having a look around. We want to see a bit of that. It's got, we can work on that with a bit of practice. But basically, you're trying to portray an animal. It doesn't have to be too deep. Push. Next time we'll ask for a bigger room. I didn't decide it, I just got given it. Anyway, we're going to go on to something else now, which is a fantastic thing of when you've interacted with someone, do you want to go? Wave? Bye? Any right? That's one way. What other way can we say goodbye? Elizabeth? I like that. you could scratch your chin at them and sort of, no, do I like you? Do I? Nah. We need the sass. That's what we need. We need sassy characters. Something that says, I don't care. You are not worth my attention. That's a good one. But see the difference that you can get interpretation just by different people doing exactly the same thing. Sit down now. You can if you can work out, get that. later on in the parade, you're going to get lots of people queuing up, and it gets a little bit problematic sometimes when you get bunchy. So you may get stopped in a parade. It's easier when you're out in a small group because you can just wave and interact, you talk to people and do things in a small bit. When you're in a big bit, it gets a little bit spread out. They will stop the parade occasionally to let people catch up. So you think, what do I do now? So you're all standing in a line, and oh, it's not true. There are people around you all the time that you can interact with. There's a suit in front of you and a suit behind you. Have a play, be silly, smile at them. By the way, when you have a picture taken, who smiles at the camera? Yeah, I thought so. I've done it. They can't see it, but it's worth doing anyway. So, we will now move on to this wonderful bit where you ask questions and we discuss it. So, we can start anywhere with any subject on suiting. Give me a question. Yes?
What's the best way to just know what kind of character you want to portray? I mean, right now we talked about how you portray things, but how do you decide yourself? Of course, we had the, you could mimic animals, but should you take it out of your own personality, the rest, or should you, well, what's the best thing to decide how you want your character to be? And
very much depends on how you've styled it as well. If you have a nice, cute, fluffy character, sort of that's bouncy and happy and has big, bright colours everywhere, it's going to be quite hard to convince someone that you're an evil, overlord genius.
But it would be cute.
With the, well, I'm always an evil, overlord genius. But you've got other ones like a realistic suit, like this one. That's harder to portray a character that's going to be nice and adorable and lovely and sort of soft and bouncy. So I found the only way I can do it is to put the suit on and work it out from how I get a reaction or its design. Yes?
It's a lot easier to have a picture taken when you're in a suit because your face is almost always cute. But what are some cool poses? Like, I know I get in front of a camera and I'm like, what do I do now?
Okay, come step up for a moment. To demonstrate that part of things. Finishing your question, characterization is something that you can develop over time, or you develop a suit around it. I have one that's developed that's based on 3 20-year-old Leyland vans. Nobody really gets the joke apart from people that know me and know the things that we're doing. But I like the suit because it's fun and bright and it's got flashing indicator ears. I mean, what's better than that? It even breaks occasionally, which is even better. So, you want to know about some photo poses? Okay, right. Standing there like that, we still have an interest. They've got an interesting picture of a nice wolf here. Now, what about scary? How about that? Pouncing. There we go. So we've got one pose already here. This is a nice pose. Turn out that as well. We've got a nice little pose here. That always looks interesting in pictures. Cute. What's that? Oh. So the instant reaction is just there. And it works very nicely. We also have the wonderful hello. That's close enough. But you've got interesting poses you can do just by moving your hands. If you have them flat and just standing at the side, there's not really much to do. There we go. It closes all the shaping. You can't see anything about it. If you're getting pictures taken with someone, this is where it gets a lot easier, because then you have a nice hug. And you look to the camera, wherever it happens to be. So you've got something interesting to do, and that's always nice to do. So you could do, if you're quite tall, and you have someone who's not as tall, one thing that's really annoyingly cute, unfortunately, has to be and it's one thing that you can do. It's a little pose just to help it. Props always help as well. Does anybody have any props they like to keep in the suits? So, yes, you've got props?
Well, I guess sort of not a knife, a big one, like a lark knife, for example.
Yeah. So
I don't use them, just on me. So.
Lark weapons are always nice to look in pictures. Just make sure your convention allows it. because not everywhere does. But one thing you can really get, which is nice, is don't hold the sword or whatever it is straight out at you, because straight to the camera, all you see is somebody holding a thing. It's about that big. Is it an ice cream cone? Is it? Hold it at an angle off to one side so you can actually see it. There's a wonderful picture which you should all go and have a look at later. If you go on Easy Wolf's FA account, you will find a wonderful picture of how to pose in suit. And it's got many, many ideas of how to do it. Like legs are another thing as well. You don't have to have them straight on standing at someone. Have them slightly to the side. Show off your wonderful padding to show your digigrade legs. Look at the effort that went into building these things. You can see all that just from one simple thing. And tails are another good one. Long tails arch round quite nicely. Some people hug them around themselves. Does anyone know Templar?
Yes.
Yes. I think it's a few other suits as well that have been built with the really, really long tails.
Clumsy.
Yes. I'll go with that one. And then you can hug the tail. You've got something to carry around with you. Look how cute they are all the time. Isn't that nice? Yeah. Is that nice? Is that nice? Your ears move as well. I didn't spot that. This is another good thing as well about wonderful suits where you have big, 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 big ears. They're so expressive with things. Isn't it? Well, if you're taking a picture of someone as well, try not to cut the ears off because it looks really strange. You've got just a head. That's, thank you very much. Now, any more questions that we can go through while I'm through? Well, something coming from front, yes?
I have difficulties putting a personality into my suit because there isn't really an inherent personality from it. I'm the airplane, and planes aren't fun, planes aren't scary, they're mostly just serious business. And I'm also a very shy person, so I'm not sure what to do and how to behave.
It is hard sometimes to connect with characters and connect with a particular suit. I had one that I just didn't know what to do. It was a mongrel dog that was supposed to be a sort of run around, go to fursuit games, go to everything else suit. And I tried to perform it, I couldn't get anything. I just didn't know, just stood there and every other one I've just known what I want to do, how I want to play it. If you're struggling, references are a wonderful thing. Looking at what other people perform in videos is one of the best things I've ever had to look at for references to how to behave in suit. Because you'll get people that dance, some people don't dance. And I'm going to go, oh, that was kind of cute, but I'd do it this way. And you can develop your own style through that. But the wonderful thing is, nothing you ever do really is wrong in performance terms in suit, I'd say. Because you're all learning, everyone does their own thing, and everyone says, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Well, it's my suit, I'm going to do what I want. You can't tell somebody that it's the wrong way of doing it. It might be inappropriate, in which case you might want to just have a quiet word to one side. But for a plane, you're thinking, right, you've got two types. You have your fighter jets running around, big or darting from place to place to place, never stopping still for too long, not ever going anywhere, run, patch. Well, it's an attack jet, you've got to hit something eventually. But passenger jets, you've got to think, which one are you going to go for? Are you talking the more refined, elegant class of 1950s travel, where you went up to a silver gleaming plane? You were part of a special club, you dressed up to go flying. The golden era of jet aviation. Or modern airliner traffic, cattle class. By the way, flown British Airways with the club class if you only want good service. Free champagne on the way over, so I'm sorry. But it really depends on what you want to do. You can experiment, try different things, and see how you can go from there. If it doesn't work, just don't do it again. I mean, I had the first partial suit that I got was a collie, and it was just an auction site, not built for me, just bought him, right, what am I going to do in this? And I created something based on, it was in Up. Good? Up, Disney film?
Yeah.
Excellent. It has a wonderful dog in it called Doug. Doug is the most adorably stupid character I've ever encountered because he has no concept of badness. He takes everything face value and just accepts it. And I thought, that's a nice idea, I quite like that. So I created a collie that would steal everything. By the way, it is mine if I want it. If I like it, it's mine. If I want it, it's mine. If it's shiny, it's mine. If it's hungry and I'm hungry, it's mine. If it's edible, it's mine. If it's broken, it's yours. But we went round with that sort of thing, and I've developed it off that, just stealing something and giving it eventually. And it's really, really helped just to sort of take the basis of something else and make it into something that I want to do. And then people are recognising the suit later on, and I sort of go, oh, I didn't know you even noticed my suit, because I thought that's just a partial, no one's ever going to really be interested in what I'm doing. But reality is, your performance is what will actually sell it based on anything else. And there are a few people who have commented, oh, I haven't seen this suit in a while. And you think, well, I've worn it, I know I've worn it, I've worn others as well. But they connect with individual suits, so they will actually remember what happens. And out there, there are sort of, what, 2,000 odd people running around out there. There's probably about 12,000 cameras running around as well. There will be thousands and thousands of pictures taken over the weekend in suit, out of suit. The hardest thing that I find is actually to remember you can take pictures as well and get memories from it, because you can go to some events and you don't find any pictures of yourself. You think, well, I was in hundreds of people taking pictures, but not everyone puts them online. And it can be a bit disheartening sometimes when you think, oh, maybe I wasn't good enough before, maybe it wasn't an interesting suit. It's not the case. It's just with digital photography, people can take thousands and thousands of pictures and only put 1 or 2 online. They've still got them, but they haven't put them up. So don't be discouraged if you don't find pictures, but take your own as well.
Do you have any idea how could I, as a modern plane, portray the fact that I'm the safest mode of transport and that I'm also very comfortable?
Have a high visibility jacket and a pipe. It depends really on the end of it. I mean, I haven't seen the suit actually myself, so I'm not 100% certain as to how it would look, but I would go along with something like some sort of an accessory you can carry around with you easily that would actually be nice like that. There's things like a life vest comes to mind. You know, if you have a belt at all that you can put it on, put a life vest on it, there's your safety. If you want comfort, I'd have a little martini glass on one side. Don't do that, by the way, so I'll come to you in a second. Yes?
So, well, 2 things. One I was going to say, I think I saw your suit last night, and things that came to my mind, if it helps, was that it was modern, sophisticated. It's almost like a robot and a transformer in a way as well. But I would say it's very kind of sleek and elegant. So even though it was in a fursuit kind of form, it looked like a complicated piece of machinery turned into an animal. So I think sleekness and elegance definitely would suit your suit, but that's just my personal opinion, if that helps at all.
Yeah, that helps.
You've been noticed. It happens.
It does. I was like, that's the first time I've seen that full-sized, vehicle. Well, I thought I was pretty clever.
Yes,
But I kind of had a question myself. I also have trouble getting a personality to my character. And my original thoughts were going to be like a dark evil person who stands around with chest up high, hands behind his back, kind of like, oh yes, you're not whether to speak to that kind of stuff. But then I think to myself, hold on a second, I feel like I'm turning people away, I'm pushing people away, and I don't want necessarily to. I want to come across as maybe bad, evil, and a bit suspicious, curious. At the same time, I don't want to have people think, oh, he doesn't want to.
You can portray being aloof, which is always a fantastic one. I love the upper class aristocratic doof who comes along and he's strut.
Yeah.
Being tall, you have the other advantage because you're actually over the heads as well. You can actually look round. Okay, you won't see the facial expression, but what you will get is they'll get the head exaggeration of you are not worth my time. In the go. You do small gestures, and as long as you're consistent with it, people will accept that as being the character. Nobody wants to push people away and be sort of, you get no.
Yeah.
You don't have to be aggressive and angry with it. You can just literally be, if somebody wants a hug, it's like, standing, arms folded. But there's nothing wrong with sort of a grudging hug at the end, like, oh, fine. but I'm not enjoying it. So you can actually portray aloofness and not be an aggressive person. Right hand on. It's possible, it's just it takes practice to get into short bursts of suiting, and you'll find it's easier to learn how to do it. There is actually a panel, I believe it's on Saturday, or possibly Friday, about the how to portray a more aggressive sort of angry type character. It's not demonic, it's, anyone got a comic book handy at all?
Scary Fursuit acting.
Scary Fursuit acting, that's the one. I knew there was one somewhere. So it's going to be a bit more about sort of the other side of the performance, not sort of kicking. So thank you for that question. Next at the back, yes.
Oh, I just had another tip for the plane.
Ah, yes, carry on.
What about an oxygen mask? You know, put on.
Pull for oxygen, yeah. Just remember the bag doesn't inflate. They're the good one. I think you can get those off eBay, Tradera if you're in Sweden at all, or any of the other big auction sites. You will find something somewhere that will actually be appropriate. Just search for airline stuff. You'll find something.
The suit also already consists of so many parts that need to be put together every time, so I don't think I want accessories.
Well, it's not my problem. Just tailor it. I mean, you can literally, if you sort of sew it onto something or attach it permanently to the actual suit itself, or one of the components that you're already putting on, then you haven't got to take any extra work. Or just have someone come along with you and hand out cabin crew and sick bags and everything on it. No, don't do that actually. Thank you.
Just in general for fursuit, new fursuits and so on. What I did was, when I got my new fursuit, I went to a local dance studio and just rented out a room with lots of mirrors around it for an hour or two. And just put the fursuit on and just walked around the room and watched myself acting. And see what goes, what doesn't go, what looks good, what doesn't look good, what's possible. Just doodling around in front of the mirrors with nobody watching, and I have the space entirely for me. And that was quite useful for me personally. I mean, if you go there in a slack hour or so, you just drop a tenner or so to the coffee cashier and that's it. But you have a big room with maybe added or so and lots of mirrors around, and so have an ungassed, well not ungassed view of yourself. You don't have to care for somebody else, but you can leisurely try out things, test things, try to act out, or even just try to drop down on the floor and rolling around in case you get bumped into a dance or so. So I found that a very useful exercise. If you have the chance to do so, like gyms or dance studios at noontime or so when nobody's around, they have the time to do it, and yeah.
Mirrors are very, very useful things to see how things look from other people, but one of the biggest feedbacks that I get out of anything is not actually looking at myself all the time, because I'm usually hot, tired and bothered and going, oh, this is such an effort. But then I get the videos after events and look at how other people are reacting to me. Now, another question. Who was at Confuzzle 2012? Anybody at all? Only one. Two. Well, that's a good thing. Were either of you in the Uncle Cargay's story hour at all? No? Okay. Anyway, that was one of the first times that I had that suit. And it's going to be good to give a bottle of wine. This is going to be easy. Without realising the restrictions of movements of the suit, because I'd only just got it and having to try and get up on stage. That was not easy. However, looking at the video afterwards, some of the things for the performance were actually done all on the basis of how you react with the person that you're sort of effectively just playing with. And I got some of the biggest laughs I've ever had performing whilst in suit from the crowd in the background. And I haven't got a clue what's going on because I can't see anything, I can't hear properly. And I'm sort of just going around doing things like, they're laughing. Okay, this is good. Pulled off stage, got really hot. Went off to get changed, and I didn't see the video for about a month afterwards, and then all of a sudden I'm watching it back going, that looks really good. I didn't even try and do that, it just sort of happened. Natural flow, if you've got someone who really will perform with you well, no problem at all. You can do anything within reason. It does help to know people as well, if you're going to play with them interactively. Not everyone wants to play with a big scary suit, like wants to play with small cute suit. So tailor your performance to what they're doing back. You're working with feedback. It's just like any social situation. If you're talking to someone and they're not looking at you, okay, they're obviously not interested in it, so just move on, carry on, try someone else. There's thousands of people out there. Just enjoy it. One small tip as well for performing, please don't go into shops and banks and other such things with your face covered. It's never a good idea. It can lead to misunderstanding and mistrust from the shop owners and everything else. If you've got permission first, go in there, but if not, check first. It really does help to smooth any problems over they might encounter. Now, who has a handler when they suit normally?
What?
Somebody to help you, somebody to look out for pictures, to point things out, obstructions, things like that. Spotters, they sometimes call them, sorry.
Yeah.
It's not so much a necessity in a convention, unless you actually have a mobility impairment with the suit, because you can generally find obstructions yourself. I found a nice sort of 8-foot tall potted plant yesterday. I discovered this trying to avoid the nice little fountain and then walked into a plant. But that's just not looking where I was going properly. But outside, going into like the city or performing, who have we got actually here? Have we got anybody from Canada at all? States? States? One States, yeah. Generally speaking, the more people you have around you, the better. But there are occasionally, most areas individually, you'll know when you don't really want to suit it. But having a suitor outside is really handy because they can see things you can't. They can take pictures for other people. Like, oh, do you want to be in the picture with the dog, wolf, fox, cat, miscellaneous, husky? By the way, you're all huskies virtually. You'll find that. Every single animal seems to be somehow migrated into a husky. So I've never been a Pokemon. I've never been called a Pokemon.
I hear it a lot on forums, especially the weirder species and others.
Dragons tend to get lumped into one big sort of lump as well. So I think I've been called every single species in one. So now I have a badge on the front which actually says Colin. And it's like, what are you? It's like, read the badge. But it really doesn't matter. To have a spotter is really, really useful outside because they will answer questions. Like, there's a wonderful question I've been asked so many times when I'm in suit. What's this all about? Then we want to talk. They will come up. It's for fun. Good answer. Raising money for charity is another one. They will actually answer for you if they able to answer any questions. Like, where is all this taking place? Over there. Just point if you're a dog. But it really depends on sort of your own personal circumstances. If you're going out to big groups, still have a spotter with you, because it's someone to carry that wonderful thing of water. Because you'll get dehydrated, you will lose body fluid, you will sweat, and you will get very uncomfortable, and then you will fall over if you don't drink. Because I've seen people go out for hours and hours and hours in suit, not eat, not drink, and then they just flop over. It's not pleasant. Nobody wants to have to cut you out of your suit, because if you're in that sort of a medical problem, they will get you out of that suit and they can't find zips and poppers and things, they will cut it off. So being all medical services are more concerned with your life than your suit will be repaired. So please do make sure you drink before you go out and when you're out. It is a very important thing. Next questions. Yes?
Yeah, about safety. What's for brand new fursuiters, what's the best way to walk around to be safe?
Best way to walk around? Traditionally, that is.
Yeah.
I would say the best way to walk around if you're a new suitor is take your time, look where you're going, for one thing. Has anyone got really restricted vision, like tunnel vision in their suits at all? You've got really restricted vision. Is it sort of letterbox type thing?
I can't. I can see out into the distance, but anything that gets close is very limited.
Yeah. Big muzzles tends to be another one. If you've got something in front of you here, you'll sort of lose all of this. Posts, traffic lights, what else have I walked into? Other people, pretty much anything you can imagine. If it's right in front of you, some things you can't see. So just scan the head around, keep moving all of the time, because that will help you see where you're going. Have someone with you to help you, guide you. Stairs are another big problem for some people with big feet. If you're struggling to get up normally footed because the paws can be extended quite a long way out, just go up sideways, hold onto the banner and just go up. If necessary, people will sometimes say, do you need help? And just say, yes, just hold a hand. Just offer it to them if you want to just go upstairs with them. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of help, so take help if you want it. If you don't need it, just say, all good, all fine. And really that's probably the best way of doing it. The most important thing I would say also for a new season is don't stop moving. Because as soon as you stop moving, you just become a thing that's there. It's just not very interesting at all. But as soon as you start moving, we normally have a few different suits that do it, puzzle that come help me as well. And they always find that they're sort of the tails going. Just a bit of play. But always stay moving. If you stop moving, you stop doing anything. Occasionally it can be funny. The cat creeping along the corridor, getting closer to you, is another big one. Because you don't want to move when the person's looking at you. So you can creep and then stop. Creep a bit more, get a bit closer, just. And it really depends on what you're trying to do with it. But do you have something you wanted to bring in there? No, behind you. Are you all right? Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, it's okay.
Oh, carry on. No, that was there was movement going on.
No, sorry.
Here we go. Okay, that's one good one. Anything from the back? The back is being quiet. I'm going to pick on the back now.
That's why you are in the back.
That doesn't matter, I can still see them. Yes.
Yeah, I have something to add for this
Carry on.
movement and being careful where you tread and everything, because when you've stood somewhere and then you want to go, I learned to look downstairs, to look at your feet first, because I mean there are many things you could run into, but when there's a small child, somebody standing there, you just go and suddenly you see the next thing, something to your left.
Children.
That's, yeah, so children are the most horrible thing to run into.
It depends on the age, because when they're young, they can go on two ways. They're either really scared of this big giant dog, or they're curious and interested. And we found that a couple of times you get to sort of like the age of, I call it the Disney age, it's up to about 9 or 10, and they still will go into a make-believe world. So as far as they're concerned, this is a fox, this is a cat, this is a lion, this is a tiger. They will completely believe what you are trying to portray is what's there, because they're presented in it, this must be true. Then you go into the tail-pulling age, up to about sort of 15 or so, and then they just don't want to be associated with them because that's not cool, that's just some random dude dressed up in a suit. But really and truthfully, you can actually get wonderful reactions from children. If you have a scared child, for example, I found one of the best effective ways of dealing with it is to mimic what they're doing. So if you have two parents, hide behind the other one's leg, crouch down and sort of peek out, have a look around, be scared, cover your own eyes, sort of just timidly offer a paw out. You're just as scared as them as they are of you. And usually the fear will melt away and they're sort of curious, well, actually this isn't quite so bad. And then you'll get a sort of stroke on the paw, and that's usually enough contact and they're happy. They'll usually want to hug or something and just smile and to drop happily. But the first time I took that one out at Eurofurence 18, and I was outside, it was a bit hot, running around, being silly and doing things. And I went to go back inside, and all of a sudden my leg was very heavy. And there's this sort of thing clamped onto my leg, and I'm sort of what? It's a realistic suit, so generally children don't like the realistic suits. But this one, they were just Loved it. But it really depends on sometimes the individual, because sometimes the realistic suits they will like slightly more because they're more realistic proportions. They've got normal sort of sized eyes and that, and their nose is smaller. Even though they've got teeth, they don't seem to care. But the tuning ones have got big staring eyes sometimes, and they don't like that.
Is the visual a lot better in the tuning ones?
The visual, it depends on the suit more than anything else. I've found that I've had really, really good vision in some and really terrible, terrible vision in others. This one I can see quite well in, and I don't have any particular problem. I have another one that's got a slightly smaller opening for the eye, effectively, and I can't see anything. And I just stumble around sort of virtually until one day I thought, this is just stupid, and got the eye enlarged so I can see better. There is nothing wrong with getting your suits modified to fit you better, because sometimes it just doesn't work. Vision is important. If you can't see, you'll fall over something. Even if you do, you fall over something, and that's just cute. There is one thing I would say to you as well, back on safety. If you do have a problem, or you see someone who looks like they're having a problem, offer the help to them as well. If they're lying down and don't seem to be moving very much, just go and make sure, because if you fall unconscious in this, you'd go, look how cute it is on the head of my son on the sofa. Wait a minute, you've been there for 3 hours. Not quite so sure about that one, but just go and poke them if you want to.
Especially in the sun. I had one friend who was like lying in the sun and like being all sleepy, and I checked like, are you still awake? Because I was afraid he was going to fall asleep and then dehydrate and, you know, pass out, and yeah.
It's not good to do that. I've nearly done it. I caught it in time. I went into one of the dance contests one year, decided to bounce around, and then after about an hour and a half of being in the show and then coming out again, I just flopped in front of the fan and just lay down with go get me some orange juice, why, just go and do it. And then they went called the first aider. And I was like, don't get the first aider, why not? Because I'm the head of medical. Never do it again. But you have to know when to stop. So if you do think, oh, it's a bit much, go and have a break. The biggest thing that I say about it, who's going to go to the dances later?
Also be aware of shivers.
Shiver, always good.
Yeah.
Very
Shivering.
Yeah, shivering's very bad.
Shivering
Even though it's
is very
nice
bad.
at the top. Dancers? No? Dancers? Anyone? Good. Right. Here is a very wonderful tip for you to stay hydrated and keep yourself cool and lasting longer in dances. Instead of trying to do the ridiculous sort of thing, I want to stay 10 hours in suit all the time, I'm not coming out the door, no. I have a very simple way of doing it. I will go for 2 songs in the dance music. Then I will go and have a break for 1 song. Then I'll come back in for 2 songs. Then I come back out. And it depends on which set it is. Sometimes you make it 3 songs, it's a short song. But you'll get sort of like 10-15 minutes into 5 minutes out of suit. And keep repeating, because you have a drink each time you go out to suit, or just take the head off in the lounge. It's much more comfortable, and I can go for far longer suits now than I can doing it as a continuous block. Yes.
I'm sorry.
I'm not trying to kill you about this,
Oh.
but it's a different scene.
Well, just to throw in my 2 cents. I found out some tips that I'd like to share. First of all, if you're first shooting in the sun, in a very sunny weather outside here, and you have a handler with you, tell him to have not only some bottles with water or something like that, but an umbrella, just an umbrella. Just in case if you, just very, very hot, not to ruin the magic, you just can go to some corner or to some wall and he just opens this umbrella and you can put your head off for a moment just to have a short break if it's very, very comfortable in the suit.
I like that.
That's a good
Okay.
I haven't ever used an umbrella before. I've normally had just knowing where on stage and off stage is.
that doesn't ruin the magic, but of fursuiting. But well, you get just a chance to take a breath. Then, well, I have about fishing. Yeah, I have full visuals in my fursuit, so I developed some manner of moving. Well, you know, I'm a cat, yeah. So if I'm moving in a place where there can be some small children, and well, I have just a small zone here and here that I see, so that I do swimming-like movements with my front paws, yeah, just like that. Just like I'm dancing, and if, in case if someone gets in my way, well, I just feel them, and well, I can correct my movement, just not to not to get on them. Well, well, there are some cooling tests that will be of enormous help if you are fursuiting for a long time in sun weather or in some very harsh rooms. And they are not too expensive, and sometimes they can make your performance in a fursuit much more comfortable.
Cooling vests are comfortable. There are many different types, many different uses of them. Some are expensive, some are cheap. It just really depends on personal comfort. They are not essential for suiting. They are useful, especially if you're doing longer stints when suiting, because they will make you feel more comfortable. And comfort is very, very nice in a suit. I have one of the easy cool-down vests, which I find immensely useful for hot weather. And it's wonderful to be able to go around and you're just like, I'm so cold, I'm so cold, I'm so cold. Hug someone, and they're sort of like, you're cold, why aren't you hot? Stone, maybe? But it's about personal comfort. He has got some, if any of you want to try them, by the way, in the Disney Den. So try them, see if you think you like it, buy them if you wish, and tell him I sent you, maybe he'll give you a discount on the next one. Yes?
Those cooling vests, are they very thick?
No. It depends on who you're buying them from, because you can get any variation on them. You go online, you can buy them, you can buy really thin ones, you can buy thick ones. The ones that Easy has are about 1.5 centimetres, maybe 2 at the most, when they're in their different shapes. But go and see them and you'll see what sort of things. But basically, you can get different thicknesses. The thicknesses that are bigger are obviously going to last longer, because there's more cooling capacity on them. But generally speaking, they're not going to be that thick. They're not going to impede your movement in any great sense. If you have, there are sort of the really plushy type suits, the really bulked out ones with lots of padding. I would say, are immensely useful for that sort of suit because there's less airflow, so you're going to get hotter quicker. It's going to be useful to have that, but it depends basically down to personal preference. Some suits, this one I don't wear a cooling vest with, because I've got a vest already with a police vest, so I can't fit it easily around everything. So it's down to what you want. I did see one suit which was quite ingenious, where he was basically wearing a t-shirt underneath everything and had a box around him. And it was great fun. It was at one of the anime cosplay expo things. He was some kind of Japanese samurai robot thing. I had no idea, but it was really nice because I thought, he said, "I'll have a look inside this," opened it up, and he had like a little tray inside for drinks and a little tray for his money and phone. And I sat there and went, that is so good, but so impractical. You went, why? Well, how are you going to go upstairs? Just no idea how he was going to do it. He thought it was going to be all level ground everywhere, so he could only go certain places. But advantages and disadvantages of the sort of construction of each suit. Any more questions from the back, the front, or the sides? that time's got?
Well, possibly. But my tip, if you are constructing your suit, just make sure your tail is connected well to a belt instead of sewing to the suit itself, because when you are performing outside in not fair convention but some casual convention here, people often like to just to make sure your tail is well connected to your body. They just keep hanging like this on your tail and so on. And if I didn't, if it wasn't connected well to my belt in the suit, then the tail would be tearing off already.
Another good reason to have a handler. They will be the ones to be looking out for that kind of thing going on and stopping it from happening. You might still get it occasionally, and if it does happen by an attendee of an event or something else, I encourage you just to go to security, let them sort it out. Don't go home and moan about it on Twitter and everything else. Go and see the security, deal with it there and then, and get the problem sorted out. Because it could just be something being a bit silly and then just need to be told, don't be an idiot. Just be careful and be nice to people and no problem. Right. Am I that bad? Oh, dealer's den's open. I know, just because I'm not an artist. I do all my fail sketches, by the way, 50p each or £2.5 for £1. That's about €100 a piece, I think. Yeah. So, we still have a little bit of time left, I think. There's no clock in this room, so I must apologise for having to check the phone. We have about 5 minutes left before I have to give them the room back because there's cupcakes happening here later. Unfortunately, it's not the food kind of cupcakes I've discovered. It's actually a story writing with one of the guest sponsors, so that'll be in here in about half an hour after this. So, I have time for final questions. Mr. Hatt, I don't know your name, I'm afraid, so do you have a question? Because I like the hat. No. You have 5 minutes to think of one. By the way, we don't pick on people, we just encourage participation.
About maybe some tips about another tip. I forgot about it. The silhouette principle. The silhouette principle.
Silhouette principle behind the pictures and shadows.
Yeah, well, it's also used in all kinds of cartoon pieces. When you have a character and they do a pose, you should blacken it out, make a silhouette of it, and if you can see what the character is doing, then you have done a good job. And you can also put that into fursuiting actually. When you strike a pose, you can do a pose and, for instance, you finger dip right there. Can you do that?
Yeah. I can do that, no problem.
Yeah, and if you make a quarter move and put one leg in front and you're a bit standing backwards. Right now, you're when you make a silhouette out of this.
Like Captain Morgan.
But you can see even better.
Yeah. I mean, I've never tried that.
I personally do it.
I haven't really sort of thought of doing that way. I just tend to pose.
Big movements.
I like big movements. Over-exaggerated movements are wonderful because it sort of, in suit things can be a little bit dampened, if you like. So if you do a nod, you might not even see that. You give a big nod and it looks funny because your ears flop forwards. It's always cute, isn't it? Wiggle and the nose as well. And if you want to do something, think about basic emotion that you want to carry. If I want to tell you, I'm angry, I'm not happy, I want to stop my feet, I'm going to really sort of flail the arms around, give it a big, enthusiastic thing. But if you're happy, you want to be, oh, I love you, it's been so long. I'm going to pick on you again. Oh, look at this, look at this, look at this. Okay. So really over-enthusiastic, over-exaggerate what you want to do. If you're sad, I mean, most people have remembered cartoons when they were proper cartoons that were actually drawn physically and not computer animated, modern, stupid rubbish.
Yeah.
Right on, brothers. And but in that, they tended to do a lot more of that as well. They were more clear with their emotions when they tried to portray them. So a sad character would give you sort of closed in, I don't know. So you can't do a quivering bottom lip, I'm afraid, on these suits. I'd love to, but it'd be really fantastic.
Still doing it. We're all in suit. No one's seeing it, but we're still doing it.
But you can really sort of do, I mean, if you're shy, you can get the basic sort of thing of doing it. If you're shy, it's like, not sure, do I want to go down here, do I not want to go down there, how do I want to do this? But you've got all that basic emotion. If you take it down to the simplest of things, you're trying to convey one simple idea and break it down into something easy. You're angry, you're stop it. Build up a little bit, do a little chicken dance as well. But just try and convey what you're trying to do. I mean, how we have new suits in the back as well. I think one or two back there that were new, hadn't been suited before. Ah, there we go. Right. So, if there's one thing you wanted to know about suiting, how you do it, what would it be?
I think it goes back to the question I asked before
Sorry,
about how to be friendly with people but still keep my persona and not push them away.
I mean, it's the thing that I was saying to you about, you know, the aloofness of it and sort of the more regal thing of, you know, I talk, walk, step, I want to go this way. No, I don't want to go this way. The gestures. Think about a queen or a prince or someone else. You're important. You're the most important person. They don't deserve your attention. So you want to sort of, you're waving up. You're waving. You may have my attention for a little while. You sort of pick up small gestures and use those, and then you can build up the character based on how you want to basically be reacted to. And again, it's where accessories come into it, because if you have the big black cloak with the red lining and the cane and the top hat, you get an image in your mind instantly of the big baron with the twirly moustache, the evil 19th century Dr. Moriarty or whatever you want to. So you can have anything you want performance-wise with a bit of characterization, but portray it the way you want to. And I think that's probably the way I would be doing it. Unless anyone else has some ideas. Good, I like it mentality. Means I'm doing things right. So you have a final chance to answer. Yes, you have one chance to answer a question. Answer a question. Ask a question. Do it in whichever order you want.
Okay. Is consistency and a character personality one of the major appeals?
Which one? Sorry.
Is consistency one of the major appeals of a character? But is it the one thing which can set you apart and make you recognizable the most?
The thing that makes you most different when performing is the way that you actually do things. You will get somebody who will do something unique and then it gets copied, but I found that the way to be the best performance I can is not to actually try and force something strange that I'm not used to work with what I'm comfortable doing. We have loads of people that dance. I can't dance. I can't even attempt to dance. Lubricate me with enough alcohol and I believe I can dance, but still. However, put me in suit and give me some dancing to do, and anything looks good. Anything looks cute. You see me shuffling around. I can dance. Oh, wait. No. But it's not really about always doing it for other people. You can do it for yourself as well. I don't suit just to run around, be silly, and find people laughing. I do it because I enjoy it. And I like doing different suits. I like performing different characters and going to different places. So you can do it for yourself just as much as anyone else and take enjoyment from it. That is the critical thing from it. If you enjoy it, rock on with it. If not, do something else. Or try a different one. Anyone else? Excellent. You may now dispense forth into the lobby. Please enjoy tipping your panelists as well with lots of money and alcohol. Or just saunter wander out and have lunch and complain, and I'll just be in the bar. Oh, there is terrible. I'll be fine. Thank you very much for Go and harass Uncle Cargate.